Why do I do that? I always go when we go live. Hey, everybody. Yes, it is the virtual food court for Dragoncon 2020 for Saturday. And I'm just now going to see if I can look around. I'm looking around the virtual Peachtree Center to see if I see anybody that might want to sit down with me and grab a bite to eat and just hang out and chat a little bit. And let's see who I can find. Let me just see who all I can find out here. Let's see. A few people lurking about, looks like. So I'm just going to kind of wave at them virtually. You know, we do everything virtually here with virtue in virtu. And let's see if we can just rustle up another crowd of folks. I know that some people are busy. It is, after all, Dragoncon, and everybody's busy, right? We're virtually running around the virtual hotels. I'm getting really tired of saying virtual. I'm just going to act like it's real. We're running around these hotels here. It's amazing how much the Marriott this year looks like my basement, my studio. It's amazing, isn't it? But you know, it's not my studio because I don't normally have all three of the Avengers up there, so I must be in some new place of the big three. So anyway, we are going to have some folks visit. I've waved at a few people. See, we're definitely in the food court. I got my Chick-fil-A, and it's not Sunday. I see. Oh, here's David. David's made it to Dragoncon this year. Hey, David, how's it going?
Good.
Hi.
Didn't expect Dragoncon, huh?
I didn't expect to see you in virtual Atlanta this year.
This is my first Dragoncon since I think 2000.
Oh, wow.
I went to every Dragoncon from 93 to 2000, and I don't think I've been back since. It's also approximately tripled, quadrupled.
It has.
It's gotten too big for me. I get a little claustrophobic. It's at the point now where it just triggers panic attacks. So I just I enjoy from afar, and I go to smaller shows when I can.
We were talking on the food court yesterday that I said there are people I know that that thought it was too big 20 years ago.
Yes,
and it's a lot bigger now.
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine. 85. It's basically an SEC football game crowd now.
That's crazy. So I loved going in the 90s.
Hello,
James.
What's up?
James' dogs, it sounds like.
I've got my dogs in the background. Sorry, they're going nuts.
I can tell. I can't believe they must be service dogs if they let them bring into the Peachtree Center like this. I got David Wright and I've got dogs. It's just like I can see where this is going already.
Yeah, we're already
You're going downhill really fast. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be quiet in a minute. There's probably a deer or something outside. We have a lot of deer around here, and I have a Labradoodle that barks at everything. Hey, David, it's been an age, man.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good.
I was just about to reminisce on my 90s experiences at Dragoncon.
Oh,
my first one was 93. The highlight there was meeting Stan Lee and Roy Thomas. And so I have Darth Vader story from the alley there, looking through some back issue bins, and some dude taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around and I'm looking at like the middle of his chest. I have to look up at him, and this dude with the English or Cockney accent or whatever was like, "Hey, can you take my picture?" I was like, "Sure." So I took his camera. He posed with somebody, and I snapped their picture, and I gave him the camera back, and I had no idea what I had just done. I said, I wonder who that was. I noticed that tall guy was walking around, get back behind his table to take a seat. I was like, I wonder who that was. And I took a look. It was David Prowse.
Wow.
It was Darth Vader. And I didn't even know it. It was just like, this was my first experience at DragonCon. I was actually living in Stone Mountain that summer, working theoretically working an internship at CNN. Well, I played hooky a lot because they didn't let me do a lot. I'd hang out in a control room or whatever, but they weren't letting me do a whole bunch. So I was on my way in on the train and I saw an ad for Dragoncon, which I never heard of.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, when I get out of the train station, I can turn left and go to CNN and do nothing all day. Or I can turn right and go to this thing where Stan Lee is going to be. And so I went that way instead. And I was blown away.
You made the right choice.
And ended up like taking Darth Vader's picture, and I got Stan Lee's autograph, and I met like Larry Stroman and Mark Bagley. I forget who else. That just blew me away, and I was kind of hooked for the rest of that decade. I went every year. I remember '95 I met John Byrne.
Hey, Brian.
And it was '98 that I met Van and some of the other guys.
I bet back then too. That when it was like they used to hold it in like June or July, and it was super hot. Yeah,
July 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, this was like mid-July. I remember '94 was the World Cup was going on, and I was missing World Cup games to go to Dragoncon. But actually, so a couple of things. Dragoncon got too big for me. I can't handle something that crazy. But also,
so we go to Georgia football games instead. We're not buying it, David.
Hey, listen. At a football game, I'm outside on a bench. I've got open sky. I would not spend the whole football game in the concourse with the people crowded around concession stands. I wouldn't do that. But
okay.
Yeah. But the other thing was they moved Dragoncon to Labor Day weekend, and that just doesn't work for me. I've got too many. I've always got family stuff going on Labor Day, so I've missed it. I've sort of missed it. I missed what it was, but I know that it's different now, so I don't miss it too much.
Well, but the great thing about it, though, it's so compartmentalized that, instead of having, 20 tracks with 50 people on each or something, it's got like 40 tracks with a couple hundred people in any given time in each. And it's still, if you don't want to deal with the other 80%, just stay in the Marriott or just stay in the Hyatt. It's spread across so many hotels that you can kind of, at any time at Dragoncon, you can basically ignore 80% easily and ignore the other, 19% kind of, except walking around, to go to the bathroom or something. So it's not like it's all in one big room is the
right.
The upshot. So
yeah.
What's it about 5 or 6 hotels now?
Yeah.
I think it was like 2.
5, and then both buildings of the America's Mart.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where like all the dealer rooms and the artist alley and everything are just about 6 floors of the America's Mart.
And I think they used another event space last year. It's called 200 Peachtree. It's like a big ballroom, I guess. Basically, it's near the Westin.
I was going to say, James, David hasn't been since the Westin. The big glass cylinders become part of it now. It's in there, so we have to go in.
Yeah.
It's funny. Every hotel has a different way in and a different layout completely. You know what I mean? They're like it's like a spaceship on Babylon 5 compared to Star Trek compared to, anything else. They're completely different. And so you have to kind of learn, how do the doors work? Where are the stairs I have to go up and down? How big is the lobby? Because like is it the Hilton or the Hilton and the Westin both are laid out horribly for what we're trying to do.
Westin is weird because you come in on street level, but that's not the first floor. That's the 6th floor. It's laid out very strange. And if you don't go over there a lot, like I just go over there for, I might have one panel over there on the weekend. You don't get to learn it. So I'm always confused every year. Okay, where am I going? Where is this room at?
Constantly, and they move things around too. It's like like they're just being. Sometimes I think they're trying to keep things refreshed and updated. Other times I think they're just sadistic.
Yeah,
they're just like, let's put it over here. Now, I won't. Regina, if you're watching, I'm just kidding. Okay, Regina will be like, I put them in the best rooms. You can't, and I'll be like, you're right. But yeah, I mean,
that's what they did with the gaming. Gaming had they had a whole floor of the Hilton, I think, in the basement, and now they're over in the America's Mart, and you don't have 24/7 access. I think they did this time. But yeah, I mean, everything, you know, as they grow, it's kind of a go big or go home thing. I would love to see it in the same space, but with maybe 20 to 30,000 less people. But they'll never do that. They'll start axing hotels if they do that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, if it was fewer people, they
wouldn't
wouldn't
need as much
spread them out.
space.
They would just, they would keep it the way it is now and just have fewer hotels. Yeah.
They couldn't justify it.
I don't think my fandom is really broad enough to really justify something like Dragoncon anyway. I'm like 90% of my fandom is comic books, and I get more bang for my buck. I get more reward out of going to a smaller show that's more focused on comics. Like when we did Charlotte, I think you and I did that in 01 and 06. I don't know if you've been any other times, but those were my only times. And I love those shows.
Yeah. Well, DragonCon's always had really good comics guests and really good comics programming.
They did early on when I was going, and I was loving it every year. But it seemed to get further and further. I could tell it was growing and getting bigger, and it's awesome for people that are into other stuff. And I'm into a little bit of sci-fi, you know. And I met some X-Files actors. That was cool. But and like Charlotte's a small show. It's a joke compared to DragonCon.
But it's very fun.
But it's 100% comics, and it's a big deal for writers and artists. And you're going to meet comic pros there. And to me, that's cool. But you don't get the celebrities, the movie and TV stars, and you don't have the wide variety of programming, which, you know, that's awesome. That's great. That's what DragonCon should be. It just doesn't. It's just grown to the point where it doesn't really match up with me anymore. So, but I'm glad. I'm glad to see it going. I'm glad to see all my friends so heavily involved in it. Yeah.
Well, and it's as a writer now myself. I wasn't when I started going, but I am now. I can see the point of that. You go to a small show, and they're there to buy what you're selling. Nobody's going to DragonCon to see little old me. They want to see the guy who played the Vulcan gong ringer in a mock time or something. They don't want to buy my stuff, which is, you know. But I know that going in. And I know that there are people there who are they're just harder to find.
Well, yeah, we were. So Van, I remember, this is what I love about small shows. You had a table at one of the Birmingham shows in like 2009 or 2010. Yeah. And so right there in a row, we had Van Plexico, and next to you was Timothy Zahn.
Yeah.
And then on the other side was, I'm going to forget his name, but the little person who played Tweaky on Buck Rogers.
Felix Silla.
Felix. You hanging out with Felix. He was the hang gliding Ewok. I remember that.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
I probably knew it at some point.
So I was like, I could hang out with Van and Timothy Zahn and the hang gliding Ewok. It does not get cooler than that. I've
done that after having certain things on my pizza and beer. So there's different ways to experience that, you know. Next thing you know, you're awake in bed going, what? A hang gliding Ewok. How did he show up? All right, I'm peeking around. No, I was going to say, James, I've been very fortunate. I used to do a lot better business at smaller conventions, but there's something about DragonCon, I guess, that there's just so many people there that fortunately I'm able to do enough business to pay for things that I have to pay for, but it's like it's mostly going out to panels and talking to people, and then they come back. It's not like people browsing and come through and just, you know, drop $100 or something. Other than Vegas Heist. Vegas Heist did really well that way. All right, we got Jared, my inker right here. Hey, there he is.
Oh, good. You brought food.
Hey,
you gotta have food at the food court.
What are we
Jared, can't hear you. Can't hear you, Jared. Click your audio.
Yeah, you're muted.
It says you're not. I can't.
Hold up a sign.
I've got lots of signs here, but
Blink twice for yes.
I know that Jared does this more than I do. How are you having technical problems? you do StreamYard stuff like 3 times a day.
Can you hear me yet?
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Yeah, remember my main computer decided 1 p.m. was a great time to take an update, so I'm broadcasting to you from my Surface Pro at this point.
Oh, that explains it.
So yes, computers are jackasses that will screw you every chance they get. I mean, we learned this from the Terminator. Nothing has changed.
It's true.
So, Van, I have a question about your bookshelf back there.
Yeah.
What to our left? I guess that's over your right shoulder. What are those books with the faces on the spine there? Is that other right there? Is that Marvel or DC? What are we looking at?
This is DC the Golden Age, DC the Silver Age, DC the Bronze Age, and then Jack Kirby.
Okay, so those are just like selected stories from those decades.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because especially like the Bronze Age. This is my thing. They had these at Costco, I think, for really relatively inexpensive in paperback. But my wife got me these the hardcovers, so they got like text and art.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's cool.
And Paul Levitz. Dang it!
You want to redo his?
I was on with Paul Levitz, and this was over my shoulder, and I didn't think about it, and he didn't notice it. Unbelievable! I was going to tell him that I've been reading the Legion of Superheroes that he did, the great Earth War saga, and I just didn't tell him anything. I'm just a total idiot. So there you go. Wow.
When does that come on?
What's that?
When does that premiere?
I think it may be up. That's the that was the oh crap. The writer that passed away, and I'm blanking out. Dennis O'Neil. It was the Dennis O'Neil Memorial Panel.
Okay.
And so Andrew Gasca went and got several people that knew him and brought him on at different times. So we recorded 2 different 30-minute sessions talking to Chaikin and Levitz and a couple other people, and they're going to blend them together into one show. And I don't know if it's already aired or not, but if it'll be on the Comics Track page.
Okay.
So
cool.
It was cool. I wasn't actually on it. I was over in the corner just filming it. Oh yeah, Brian's down with it. Yeah, that is so great. Brian, that was the one that I read when I was 10. Came out in 78. 1978. You know, guys, I've always said 77, but the more I look back at comics and stuff, 1978 was just like my ground zero of all the good stuff that was coming out. I mean, you had good stuff like the Legion Earth War saga, but that was the same time you had like the Shogun Warriors and the Micronauts in their prime. You know, you had Shooter and Perez on the Avengers during those years. I mean, there was just
I'll take your word for it.
Michelini and Layton were on Iron Man.
Iron Man, yeah. I mean, there was just so much. God Almighty.
Yeah, I was only 7. I had not discovered Marvel Comics yet. I was probably reading comics by that point, but it was probably all Archie and Richie Rich.
There you go.
And Popeye. Yeah.
Well, I need to take off, guys. I hate to eat and run, as it were. I got a panel for Joe and Gary.
All right. Tell them hello.
Also on SteamYard, talking Back to the Future. So I will holler at you guys later.
Awesome.
Okay.
See you, dude.
Bye.
Yeah, Denny was a great writer. Yeah, he was good. I remember the only thing I really remembered about Dennis O'Neil was he did a stint on Iron Man, and it it wasn't my favorite. You know, it was like he had to follow Michelini.
Right,
and
Denny O'Neil is not best known for his Iron Man. He's best known for his Batman, probably, and just being an editor and being a Batman editor. But he did the Green Lantern, Green Arrow, social era with Neil Adams in the early 70s. That was him. But my first exposure to Iron Man was Denny O'Neil with Luke O'Donnell as the artist. And I did not have the Michelini Layton stuff to compare it to, because it was literally my first exposure to the character. And I loved it. This was Tony's bout with alcoholism. didn't appreciate the fact that it was his second bout already.
Right.
But he lost his company. Rhodey takes over the armor for the first time. We are introduced to Stain. That was a Denny O'Neil character.
Yeah.
All
True.
that happened. And
I didn't think about that with the movie. You know, I didn't think about it with the movie, but yeah.
Yeah. And then later, I was able to gain the perspective of like, okay, all right, so this isn't the best run ever. Michelini and Layton is. I don't think anybody argues against that. But also, you know, maybe they were a little too quick to revisit the alcoholism storyline after Demon in a Bottle. But I loved it. And what I've kind of have figured out just recently is that let's see, Michelini and Layton, when they start, like issue 115, 116.
Yeah, right in there.
In there. So I really enjoy the Iron Man series all the way up through past issue 300, really around 310, 312. And very quickly after that, it just falls apart with Teen Tony and then
oh Lord,
and then Onslaught happened. But there's a good run from basically 200 issues because I've now started. There you go, food court action.
Down, yes.
Yeah, we need food court action. All I have is these Cheez-It crumbs.
Working through another bag of chips.
So as you know, Van, I've just started recently reading the Mantlo Iron Man for the first time. And and so what I've learned is that really from like issue 95 to issue 300, I love basically all of it. So I'm a bigger Iron Man solo series fan than I ever really consciously thought that I was. So it's pretty cool. In fact, I've loved the Mantlo stuff so much, I've actually hit pause on that, and I'm catching up with some contemporaneous issues of Fantastic Four and Captain America, and I'm going to try to just like read month by month chronologically through those series, get through 78 and 79, probably go up to about 81 or 82. But yeah, I'm liking the Mantlo Iron Man just fine. I'm looking forward to just going through all the Michelini stuff. So
yeah, that I think it's very underrated just because it was right before Michelini and Layton.
I think Mantlo and I think Denny O'Neil both suffer for being on either side of Michelini and Layton's run.
Fair. Oh, Brian has another question here. Very, very good. Speaking of Mr. Levitz, have you read The Great No? You know what, Brian? This is funny. You should say that. I've had the super deluxe hardcover collection of it. I think it came out right just a little while after the Earth War, and I never saw it, never got it in comics. So I got that hardcover about 10 years ago, and for 10 years I would take it off the shelf, read a little bit of it, and kind of lose interest and put it back. And I know that it's because the story really doesn't get going until about halfway through. There's a lot of filler leading up to it, you know, kind of like Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Annihilation Conquest. You really have to get to Volume 2 for the actual story. But I finally just said, you know, it's wasted on me to have such a nice book of this story that I'm just never enjoying. And I'd had it for about 10 years, and I looked on eBay and it was going for like $80-$90. I'm like, you know, somebody's going to enjoy this more than me. So I sold it. I figure if I ever really want to read it, I'll just get it on my iPad, you know, get on Comixology or something. But I do appreciate that era and those stories. I love how the Legion had so many different powers, you know. I mean, I started to say diversity, but honestly, in today's world, there wasn't that much diversity unless you count aliens that look exactly like every other white person as diversity, right? But in terms of their powers and superheroics and everything, there was a lad, a boy, a girl, or a kid with every power, right? And it's just so neat. They were just like the Swiss Army knife of superhero teams. So I appreciated that about him.
Did he have matter-eating lad?
There was this great story. I mean, there was a story where like this monster was working his way toward the center of the earth, like toward the capital of the earth, the 30th century earth, and destroying everything. And it was kind of like Doomsday before Doomsday. And every other like Legionnaire tried to stop it and couldn't stop it. And it had been created by like the Miracle Machine or something. There was like this machine, like the Cosmic Cube, that created this Doomsday being. And, you know, like Superboy and Wildfire and all of them had thrown themselves at it. And issue after issue, they couldn't stop it. and it gets to the Legion headquarters, its ultimate destination, and rips open the door. I'm here to destroy everything. And Matter Eater Lad is standing there next to the Miracle Machine, and it goes, and Matter Eater Lad goes, oh, and eats the machine, and the monster goes, boop. And then Matter Eater Lad went insane because he ate this cosmic cube type machine, and he's just like, all right. So it was kind of a sad ending, but I thought that was so clever that you do everything else you can think of to stop a monster, and finally you just eat the machine that created the monster. What can you do? Did you guys ever read?
I hate the churches. That's what I ate. It created a monster, but
the chicken monster won't get us. But
yeah.
Oh, by the way, Joe says I'd be there, but I'm literally doing another panel right now. Well, Joe is. I don't expect Joe and Gary and all of them to be able to pop on here because they have track responsibilities. I understand that. I wouldn't want their responsibilities. I respect them for all their hard work. I'm just checking.
I was listening in on their 40th anniversary of Flash conversation last night. Flash Gordon movie. It was fun.
Oh yeah. Like Paul says, the problem with the internet is learning about all the new stuff, but also learning about all the stuff you want to backtrack. Yeah, it's true. And Brian says so true. Right. I know. It's like you almost want, don't tell me anything. I got enough.
Yeah.
I got enough to watch and read already. But that's what people always say. People come up to me at tables at Dragoncon or Dragoncon or wherever and go, "Oh, your book, it looks so interesting. I really like to read it, but I've got like 10 other things I haven't read yet." And I'm always like, that's no obstacle.
Yeah.
I have lots of books I haven't read. Look back here. I haven't read a lot of this stuff, don't let that stand in your way.
What do you have live coming up today that you're doing live today?
Well, the big one today is not live. It's the I think it's at 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern, which is the JR Junior.
That's gonna be cool.
That'll go out. It is worth watching, I think.
I don't think I'm going to catch the premiere of it, but I'm going to want to see it for sure.
It'll be there. Yeah. No, it's worth watching. I just asked the questions, but he had some he was really good. I'd never really seen him or interacted with him or even seen him on video. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know he might be crotchety or grouchy or something like some people. He was awesome. Just a cool guy. So, and then at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern, we've got the Marvel DC trivia 22nd year, if I think that's right.
Something like that.
Close enough. So that'll be live.
Okay. That's at 6 o'clock, you said.
6 Central, yeah.
Yeah, I'll miss that. Unfortunately. Sorry.
Let's see, Brian's. I know you are, Brian. I know exactly who you are. You ordered the Sentinels book. Yeah, I'm only on book 1 in case you go. No, I know Brian exactly. Brian, when I had a bunch of my convention stuff that I'm like, well, I got all this stock in for conventions in 2020 and none of it's going anywhere. I might as well see if anybody wants it. And Brian was like, yeah, I want to get the Sentinels. And he's been picking up the books 2 or 3 at a time and he's got them. So I'm really looking forward. I'm so thrilled he wanted. I'm looking forward to his reaction. So that's cool.
I did the first one on Audible. I think I listened to your first one. That's why I listened to that. I texted you things I was excited about as I was listening, and every single thing I was excited about ended up not panning out.
No, yeah.
I don't want to do any spoilers.
No spoilers. But yeah, there's David knows. David's read the relevant material here. He knows that. Don't get too excited about some people in book 1, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh, this character needs their own spinoff book, and they need to team up with that character. And this,
you're like, whoops,
whoopsie, watch out.
I think I know who you're talking about.
And I thought Pete. I always say this, but I thought Pete did such a great job with those and with the Vegas book. Pete's working on Miami now, I believe, Miami Heist.
He's the reader.
So, yeah. Oh, he does the voices. I mean,
now see, I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I'm not a big Audible user. Are your books generally just how much of a production is it? Is it just a single narrator, right? You don't have a cast. Yeah. There's no sound effects, right? You just read.
No, Pete puts music at the beginning and the end, I think, right? And he does different like voices and inflections and stuff for the characters.
I would say he's standard. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's how it goes. There's enough in the inflection to know when somebody else is talking and stuff like that.
Yeah, I see. So, Yeah. That's Paul read Vegas Heist, and he said very nice things about it, which I appreciate. See Branford say hi in this. Oh, well, that's good to see. I'm glad somebody thought I was worthwhile in as a college. So
that's your alternate account then?
You're on to me. Dang it.
I figured it out.
I think you're awesome, Van. These other guys are losers. Hold on a second. I got to click over here.
It's weird. They always spell my name right.
Amazing, isn't it? Yeah, it's interesting. Paul says, you listen to Audible in his commute, but he's working home. I had, I think it was Tommy Hancock at Pro Say that was telling me that our audiobooks haven't been selling very well this year because people just aren't commuting as much. But I mean, we sold the bejesus out of the 3 Sentinels books, Vegas and Lucian, the first, like in March and April. So yeah, it depends. Some people are still listening to them, not as much as they were, but they're still out there.
Oh, cool.
So, look what Jared's got. Look what Jared's got. That's the latest page, isn't it?
Latest page. Yep. I just finished inking page 7 of our 3rd and final volume on Cold Lightning.
What page?
7.
Okay. Let's see. I think Wendell's done through 11 maybe?
I can tell you they're right here.
Okay. So we're halfway. I think we're roughly halfway done with the 3rd issue.
10. Yeah, you're right. I think I have 8, 9, 10, and 11. And somehow a drawing of James Bond I did that cut stuff
in the middle of that.
Yeah, I got all the blue lines right here. I think it goes up to 11. Yeah. 8, 9, 10, and I assume that's 11, some sort of scribbledy scratch. But yeah.
I can't wait to get that out. Let's see. Brian says, how much was the Ocean's 11 with Sinatra? Oh, it was Sinatra. Yeah, because it's set in the 60s. It's not my favorite movie, and it's not even really a movie. It's more like they got some cameras and went out and had fun during the day before the shows at night. But it does have the immortal line, Auburn beat Alabama by 12 points, which you can't beat. That's in there. It is. My boy.
I'll just throw up art pieces that reference what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that there's Cold Lightning, and that's your cover. Hold up again. Yeah, there's the other cover, and that's your cover, but you're both gorgeous. I love it. I love them both.
Yep.
Absolutely. That was. I think that the Sinatra one was influential in terms of the style, the way that everything I described it, how it would look. There wasn't a lot to the first. There wasn't a lot to the 2001 Ocean's 11 I could really use because it's all about computers and lasers and stuff, But there's the dog. There's the hairy dog. I got my little helmet back here over my shoulder. So, Jared, you'll be happy that Paul is on your side on this argument, the eternal argument.
Yeah, he's on. Well, some call it my side. Some people call it the correct side. It's just. Wait, no, those are the same people. Never.
But
wait, right there. That's autographed Timmy D. Right there on the wall.
Oh yeah, I see that. Mm-hmm. Where did you get that?
Goodwill.
No, really?
Yeah.
Well,
there was this bundle of things wrapped up that just said James Bond stuff. It was all framed, and it said $10. So I just bought it all, and then there ended up being a Dalton, a Moore, a Lazenby, and a Connery autographed picture in the bundle.
Some would say that Dalton's autograph being in the Goodwill stack might be a counter argument.
But did you miss the part where I said Connery, Moore, and Lazenby were in there as well?
Who gives all that away?
I don't know, but there's the 4 hanging on my wall.
I can't even fathom.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, "This, you got to be kidding me."
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. We should do a podcast about James Bond or something.
We ought to do that someday. We could form a whole network about it.
On our Majesty Secret Podcast Network, available on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, all your finer podcatchers.
It is.
Every moment of silence you do, I'm going to do commercials for things that we do.
I'm just checking in to see if anybody else is asking about joining us. We had a nice little crowd yesterday too, and I don't want anybody to feel left out, but I think people are all doing various.
I'm feeling really. I feel a little inadequate with my background here. Very plain and white and boring. Nothing over that.
This is my drawing studio, so it's crazy. But I mean, I even got a bed to sleep on right there.
With Zoom, I could do those virtual backgrounds and put something behind me, but I don't know. I don't see a way to do that on here.
Jared and I do a lot of videos, so we've had to put some thought into how we're doing all this. We're constantly.
Well, see, I've got a closet behind me. I can't even put stuff on the walls, and I can't put a bookshelf.
The funny
reorient my whole room, I guess.
When John Ringer and I are doing the Wishbone on video, your setup is very similar to his. So, we do it so seldomly. I guess I should take some of the Patreon money and buy him a background or something, so that he doesn't have to have his trash can for a while. I'm like, I don't know if this is metaphorical or what. So let me ask you two guys what I asked the crowd yesterday, since neither one of you were on here yesterday.
Good.
What is the one thing in the pandemic? And by the way, Brian is agreeing with us here. What a find. No kidding.
I was thrilled.
What is the one thing in the pandemic that's been delayed or is coming up that you just dying to get to? Like, more than anything else, you're like, this is the thing I need to see or read or whatever. And it needs to come on now, and germs be danged. David, what do you think?
Well, I'll just be honest. I'm at a point after Endgame where I've got to kind of pep talk myself to get excited about Marvel movies again. Like, to me, it was such a huge ending and such a natural ending and so big and so emotional that I feel like, okay, I did it. That was awesome. Do I really want to just keep going? And so I find, oddly enough, my enthusiasm for Marvel movies are actually kind of at a low ebb. Have not seen Far From Home. And I know that Black Widow and Eternals and all these should have been out by now, or have all been delayed because of the pandemic. And maybe I should be excited. I mean, my favorite Marvel character, and people know this, is Black Knight, and we're actually getting Black Knight in the movies. And I just I should be over the moon about that. And I just find myself kind of blah about it also. And with Black Widow, I hope we learn about Budapest. I hope we see more about the Red Room. I hope everything that's been hinted at and established even through the TV show of Agent Carter, because there was a lot established there with the Red Room and stuff and the Black Widow program. I hope all that fits together and they've got it all thought out. I hope that all clicks and works. I would love for Hawkeye to be in that movie, but I don't think he is. So I don't know. Those are answers that I feel like I should be giving, and they're not really hitting the spot. I can tell you something that was delayed and has had its release affected. It's now out, but Bill and Ted Face the Music. I hate that they spent so many years in development and trying to get that done, and they finally get a deal together, and they finally get it done, and they're ready to put it out, and they're denied a wide theatrical release. It's out now on like first run on demand, and apparently doing well as far as that goes, but it's all a smaller economy than it's not the same as if you had the wide release going like in normal days. So I think it's great, first of all, that Keanu and Alex remain friends all these years. They put together what sounds like a great premise, that now they're in their 50s and they still haven't, not only have they not written the song that's going to save humanity, they still don't know how to play their instruments. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Being in their 50s part, yeah.
And I love the first movie. Second movie has its fans. It gets a little weird for me. It's just weird. But those two guys are great in those characters. And I was so excited that movie was coming out, and I feel let down, and I feel bad for them that they're relegated, like almost everybody else is, to just doing an on-demand at-home release.
It could have been so much worse, though. If this had happened in 2019 instead of 2020, we were just talking about this yesterday, you would have lost Game of Thrones ending, maybe, Endgame, Star Wars. There were so many things last year. We have somebody coming by, looks like they just picked up some food and want to sit down in the... Hey, Michael.
Hey,
what's up?
Everybody.
How's it going?
That's going okay. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, pull up a seat here. Got me some... I went to the virtual Peachtree Center Chick-fil-A.
I went to the
Jared ran
churches.
all the way to churches. He must have gone to downtown Atlanta, and David's done.
Well, I want to introduce you, if you're not familiar with it, to the fan theory from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. That if things didn't go right, Ted was going to end up going to military school.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of fans have said that alternate timeline is how you get John Wick. That John Wick is actually Ted, who failed in his mission and went down the darker path to military school.
Yes.
Oh, well.
I accept that. I accept that. That's good.
So
What's weird about Keanu Reeves is all this time I feel like he hasn't really aged very much. But then I see him as Ted Theodore Logan again, and suddenly he looks really old. He looks aged in that role, but all this time and even up to recently, it's like, well, Keanu's still kicking along. He's looking pretty good, but he looks old to be Ted. But I don't know. I'll see that movie eventually. I probably won't get the $30 on at home ticket, but I'll see it eventually. I'm looking forward to it.
Jared, what's your one thing you're dying to get through the COVID?
Full disclosure, there's a gentleman's club called Teasers not far from where I live.
You're waiting for them to take the mask off again, right?
Little masks with little tassels on that they spin around. Anyway,
touch them with, yeah.
Anyway, I think you know the answer, Van. A cheap guy like me, I find myself going to the movies less and less. Marvel actually broke me right at Black Panther. Not anything to do with the film. It's a great film or anything, but they were Marvel movies to me, going to what David said, were events. But then they started coming out so fast that I couldn't keep up anymore because my family and stuff. And so Black Panther was the first one that I missed in theater. And I almost went to see it. But on our way there, we were getting our seats. And the only seats that were left were the neck craners on the front row. We were like, we'll get to it next week. And then we never did. So that was the first movie that I missed on theater. And I've been watching them on Blu-ray ever since. Then my cheapness sense kicked in because I realized I'm paying to go see it at the theater, which isn't cheap. And then I know I'm buying it on Blu-ray. So I'm essentially buying the movie twice. And I know I'm going to get on Blu-ray regardless. So I skipped the theater portion. I started doing them all on Blu-ray. So ever since Black Panther, they've been all on Blu-ray. And that cheapness seeped into everything. And I was like, well, no, I'm not. I just don't go to the movies anymore. I just get them all on Blu-ray or whatever and save myself the money. Why buy it twice, right? And then, but the one exception I will make to this rule, Van. You already know what I'm going to say. You see the decorations behind me.
Again, it's not like you have a podcast channel just for that.
So yes, I fully intend to be there live and in person for No Time to Die. Being the James Bond fan that I am, I literally have one tattoo on my body, and it's the 007 emblem. And if we can get the right Patreon amount, I will reveal its location. But yes, I will be going to see it. And Van, just inside baseball, I do intend to do what I did at the last Bond movie I went to see at theater. Is I will get permission from the theater folks, and they're good to me about this. And I'll introduce myself and tell everybody that I'm from OHMS Pod at the beginning before the movie starts. And tell them that anyone who would like to be interviewed about their thoughts on it afterwards, I will be in the lobby and I'll record all that and I'll do a post audience discussion podcast for our channel.
That's cool.
That.
That's a good idea.
Jared thinks of stuff like this. I just don't. So that's awesome.
So I have a question though about the tattoo.
Now go on.
Go ahead, David.
Does the location of your tattoo prevent you from getting a job at Teasers?
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
He put that puzzle together fast, didn't he?
Michael, what's the one thing you're dying to get here? I'm trying to think if I can guess what it is, but I'm not sure. I knew Jared's, of course.
Well, the funny thing is that movie-wise, just for different reasons, because my wife, who I'm apparently doing things for as I'm talking to you, she has a hard time sitting in theaters for long periods of time. I need something to... Okay. So sitting in like a theater, like when we went to see Infinity War, it was like almost a 3-hour movie, and she was just in a lot of pain afterwards. So we tend to buy stuff on Blu-ray anyways. And the one thing I'm really looking for is coming on television next year, so that I don't have to go anywhere with that. I just want to socialize again.
Yeah.
I mean, I just really not going to con this year, I've been kind of in this like extreme case of denial about it. Like, I'm just not going to think about it, because the moment I start thinking about it, the moment I'm just going to get kind of depressed. But yeah, just being able to socialize with people and go out and have dinner and not be afraid of every step of the food coming from the kitchen to your table.
Yeah. It was bad for me too, because instead of going out and having dinner, we bought the infamous box of 72 potatoes for $2. And over the space of that month, never walking, never going anywhere hardly, I gained like 12 pounds, which was like 90% potatoes, I think. So I've been back at work 3 weeks, and I'm back to my weight before the potatoes. It's amazing.
But the great potato incident.
But the other thing is that movie-wise, I mean, I'm just not as excited, and I think we hit that saturation point. You know, Jared mentioned like Black Panther and how there's like 3 Marvel movies a year and all that, and it's not the special thing that you do anymore. It's not. We're waiting for that one big movie to come out. You know, the Batman, if it ever finishes filming, because of that getting shut down again. Looks like, man, I don't want to pay full price for that. I don't want to pay full price for Suicide Squad. Black Widow is probably the closest I'd want to come to paying full price to see a movie, but that's just because I like those characters. I mean, we're getting Red Guardian in a movie.
I know.
like Taskmaster, I'm like, I always knew Taskmaster was going to come into this, but when they said Red Guardian played by the dude from Stranger Things, I'm just like, okay, you got my attention. I'm with you.
It's onion like Red Guardian.
Yeah.
Kel, welcome aboard. What's the one thing that you're? How you doing? And what's the one thing that you're dying to get past the COVID so you can see or experience?
Oh gosh. Anything that's normal. Yeah, I do want to go see movies again. Black Widow is the favorite character of my daughter. So you can imagine seeing Endgame on her birthday and watching Black Widow die was pretty traumatic. But
I need a moment. I didn't think. Oh gosh! Wow. Yeah.
But no, Black Widow is something we're kind of looking forward to. I'm hearing you talk about how seeing so many has made it less of a big event. In our house, it is. I'm the biggest comics geek in the house, but my family now looks forward to those, and so even having anything would be great to look forward to like that. So yeah, something that we can go and do. Right now, our bowls are home, and for me, working for my daughter's school, and that's about it. So yeah, I would love to go see anything.
I have a question for everybody, like just related to geek culture. What's something that you've been able to accomplish during the pandemic that you might not have had the time to have completed by now? I've got a couple things. My son and I finished our watch through of the first 9 seasons, the 9 full seasons of the X-Files. So that was his first time seeing all of that. And I finished the draft on my 3rd novel in my trilogy. So I was able to get all that done like March through the end of May. So that was cool. What about anybody else?
I told you I ate 72 potatoes. What more do you? Miami Heist, man. I got Miami Heist started and finished during April and May. I was so excited. Or beginning of June. Yeah, that thing was like jammed up like I needed Drano to get it moving along through the pipeline again. But once I realized I wasn't going anywhere and I was here, I'm like, well, I might as well get to typing in it. So boom.
My bigger question is, when are you going to get to Monaco?
Alan and we were sharing YouTube videos, and he's doing some research and I'm doing some, and we're looking forward to that. Hopefully it'll be out next year, but we'll have to see. I've never written anything with Alan before, and I'm sure we do well on podcasts together, but it'll be interesting to see how we do on like collaborating on a book. So,
hey, I got to go. All right.
Later, David.
It's good seeing y'all.
Bye, doggy.
Go Jackets. Woo!
We got the Georgia and the Georgia Tech. All right.
You know the real difference between a Georgia Tech fan and a Georgia fan, right?
Employment.
Yeah, the Georgia Tech fan makes about 10,000 more coming out of a year coming out of university. I say this as somebody who has literally, no pun intended, no dog in the fight whatsoever. I've worked straight through, so I haven't had like the time to just sit at home and work on stuff, because we never shut down. And we shortened our hours, but I still worked. Now I work even more because I got promoted. So it's just I kind of look at it like, well, on one hand, I've got a job, and that's really nice, but on the other hand, the existential dread.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I was teaching classes the whole time. It's just that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm at the computer, and when the class is over, I'm like, well, you're sitting here at the computer, dude. You might as well spend the next hour working on something else instead of just getting up and I had a really sweet deal for a while where I'd set up a little hammock outside and take the iPad and read comics or watch something or whatever. And I thought, yeah, when this thing is over and I look back, am I going to want to say I read a couple extra comics, or am I going to say I actually got something accomplished? So I tried really hard to shame myself into motivation into doing it. So, I didn't say my thing I'm looking for. I said it yesterday. I don't know if we had the same audience, and none of you guys were on here yesterday. I said the thing I'm most looking forward to out of a lot of things is, including the Eternals, because it's Jack Kirby. I'm like the only person I know that's really looking for the Eternals that I've heard, but the big one is Dune for me. I'm really hoping that after two, the first Dune looked great, but was terrible. The second Dune looked terrible, but was written pretty well. So I'm hoping they can put everything together this third time. I was shocked that they were going to do a third. It's one of those things where it has to be well regarded, or they wouldn't keep going back and trying it again and again and again. So, anybody else interested in Dune, or is that just is it going to bomb?
No, I'm interested. I'd like to see something good come from it. I read the first 4 books in the Dune series in middle school. They were a gift from my uncle, and I didn't quite grasp all of it as well as I probably should have. I went back and read the first one, and actually, wow, this is good stuff. So, I'm looking forward to a good epic sci-fi story done well, hopefully.
If anybody could do it, Villeneuve has got to be the one, right? I mean, if he gets it wrong, they just need to say it can't be done.
Well, I heard he was the guy to spice it up, because it used to be a little dry, and he's going to make it grittier. Are these Dune puns doing anything for you? Or?
You're just trying to worm your way into our hearts.
Boom! Thank you, Kel.
I just figured that was what everybody wants to do to beloved properties, is just make them grittier. So it's like I'm really looking forward to the day somebody says, we need a really dark reboot of the Get Along Gang. I think that if we could crack
Get Along
the code,
Gang versus Shirt Tails.
Yeah. And it's like the Warriors, except. So I mean, it's just I have never. So Dune is one of those properties that I did not read when I was a teenager, because my mortal enemy was, well, not my mortal enemy, was my I have 3 older sisters. The one closest to me, Jane, is the one that read The Lord of the Rings at age 8 and literally wore out a box set. So she read all the Stephen King, all the Dean Koontz, and she was super into Dune, which is why I saw the movie. But because we fought so much, I never wanted anything to do with most of what she read, because it was just like, well, she likes it. I'm just not going to put the thing. Plus, she gave me the Sword of Shannara to read, and I hated it. So I'm probably the only person on planet Earth that does hate it. But yeah, so I'm just, but kind of similar to that, are we really at a point with everything going on that big budget films like this are going to do well? Because again, I was saying the saturation point with superheroes, but have we really hit that with most movies?
Yeah.
Where there's like the pressure is on because it costs so much to make, and everybody wants the $1 billion film, but I don't know if we're going to ever have that again.
You may be right. I know it's
Maybe so.
I think the whole paradigm of it is going to change now. It's going to be you try to make some money in a partly filled theater, and then you try to put it on these streaming services and all that, because the physical media is going to go away. I mean, it's just all going to look very different, I think, in the next couple of years. We're not going to recognize it hardly anymore. It's too bad, because I kind of liked to where it was, but I love going and getting my nachos and sitting there in those nice big seats that they put in with the reclining things and all. I mean, the theaters were really getting to the point that I was loving being there. None of this.
And the manager has to ask you to leave.
Mr. Plexico, please put your pants back on.
Well, I'm not at home.
Put down the potato. Put down the potato.
Those potatoes laying around him. Not even cooked, just eat them like apples, screw it, right?
It's like that movie, The Faculty, but instead of drinking water all the time, he's just eating potatoes.
Potatoes constantly.
That was April. That's April, just eating potatoes all the time.
That is the weird thing, though, is that we haven't eaten, we get food at work every once in a while, but I'm super picky about what we get that I eat. Because, again, it's like the only thing I trust is Papa John's, because it's got the seal on it. And that could be a lie, but it makes me feel better. That and Marco's has twice forgotten to cut one of the pizzas, so I'm just done with them anyways. So we've been cooking a lot here at the house, and I don't know if I ever want to eat out again either. Because the food it's
kind of like, on the one hand, I'm dying to eat out, and on the other hand, I'm not sure. I don't know. It's tough.
We figured out that we were making ourselves poor by eating out.
Yeah, it's you can save a lot of money.
The reason I say that is, we get this thing where we're in a routine where every Friday we go to Walmart to pick up groceries, where we open the back of the van and they throw them in, and every Tuesday we do the same at Kroger, and we cook. And those 2 days, we buy a meal somewhere through an app. They bring it to the car, and then we take it home and sanitize ourselves and eat. And we're buying stuff off Amazon, whatever. And I'm thinking, God, we must be spending so much money. And we look at the bank account, and we have 4 times the amount at the end of the month we used to have. Holy crap!
I haven't made as much money as I have during this pandemic. Same deal, because I just don't go out and spend. Yeah. I don't go out and eat. I don't go, you go to Walmart, like you said, it's different when you plug in what you need and you go and they drop it off you. Whenever I walk around the store, I always make the joke. I go to Walmart for an $8 item and I leave with $150 worth of stuff every time. So there's definitely something to be said for that, Kel. I'm seeing that as well in my life.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to, if I ever do the ordering from Walmart, I am just going to say, look, I know this makes no sense. Just look through the action figure aisle. Don't get anything. Just look through it and then look through the movies. Yeah. So I feel like I went.
Yeah, just send me some pictures of what's there.
Maybe send me pictures of what people are wearing.
Yeah, Kel's gonna be going, okay, I need you to pick up milk and I need to pick up cereal, and could you tell me what you're wearing? Hello.
I told the judge I'd never do that again.
Specifically stipulated.
But no, rich people say that nobody ever got rich by spending money. I guess rich people. So if you don't spend money, it's amazing how much money you actually have.
Yeah,
worth it.
So, and it's a good thing that I don't buy things like I used to, because I've noticed that as opposed to when Mattel had the DC license, the McFarlane DC figures get restocked. I go into Walmart and they get new ones in, and I'm not used to that. I'm just used to seeing the same Rick Flag from Suicide Squad figure on the peg for a year and a half.
That's right.
I need a Rick Flag.
Not that Rick Flag. That's an ugly Rick Flag, dude. That's from the movie.
If I hadn't still been going to Target, I wouldn't have discovered this.
Ooh, oh yeah, I saw that a couple weeks ago. And I thought,
different Captain Marvel.
I will come through this.
I knew I was going to spin him up.
Hey, I gotta say the Legends line.
Huh?
The Legends line has not gone down in quality or gone down in terms of the figures they're offering. Because some of the stuff that I've seen, I'm like, if I'd be poor if I was buying all of it.
I was very selective. I had to order this. This is one of those things where I'm at Target and I see some new action figures I wasn't familiar with. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. They have this one. They have Songbird or whatever. Okay, that's kind of neat. And I turn the box over and I'm like, there's a Marvel. And I'm like, I'm doing this. You know what I mean? And it's not there. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me that like somebody came in here before me. And it was probably like the one that there was one in the case. And it's already gone. And I'm just like, man. So I got on Amazon or wherever we got it from and got that sucker in. So.
Yeah, the last one I got was a Union Jack figure that I was just surprised. I was just like, really?
Man, I think the last Legends figure I got was probably from I had all of series 1, 2, and 3, probably something in 4, and I just kind of faded out of it. Not that they ever went down in quality, like you said, Michael. It was just like, how much money am I going to spend? Like my wall was literally covered.
Right.
And I was like, what am I doing? But I'm more like Van now, just collect the characters I want. Like if they had a Genus Fell, that's my guy. I'd be all over Genus Fell.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I love the Peter David run on Captain Marvel with Genus Fell. I loved it. Yeah, deal with it, Van. Put that in your pipe and
he's good to be on a panel with, by the way.
He was not so bad later on, but the early version of him was truly woeful. But
I only know it from that one that launched in like 98, 99. Peter David was on it.
Peter
did about 40, 50 issues. I really liked that.
I just mentioned that to him on the thing we did with him and Paul Jenkins the other day. Yeah, Peter and Paul. That was, but it wasn't bad. They Peter kind of went nuts with it. He went insane and stuff.
That around issue 50 is where he took a turn. I was like,
But I was always more of a Phyla-Vell fan. I liked her in Guardians of the Galaxy and in the Annihilation Conquest, which I've got in hardcover and I haven't gotten around to rereading in a while. In fact, I'm to the point. Y'all tell me what you think about this. I'm to the point now where I have lots of hardcover collections of stuff, but I've gotten so used to and spoiled by reading everything on my iPad. I almost want to just get rid of all my hardcovers and just have everything on the iPad.
Over 3 years, last year was that is beautiful.
Wow.
No, I'm actually very impressed with that. Last year, I did the final purge, and I sold like 80 short boxes of single issues.
Man,
and the thing is, I still have like 60 left, so it's not like I gave everything up cold turkey. But no, I've really gotten to the point where I like to have collected editions of stories that I really, really like, but I've gone back to what I was when I first started reading comics, where I'm just looking for something to read. So the subscription services like Marvel Unlimited or the DC Universe app, or just picking up cheap trades when they're on Comixology for like $6. I mean, and I just read them on my iPad. I mean, it's more convenient. I don't have to lug through boxes. And two, I burn through them so much faster that I'm actually reading more because of it.
Yeah. Well, I liked what who was it saying earlier? Somebody that was on at the beginning, and I don't know if it was David or if it was Jared or whoever was saying that. I think it was David was saying he, instead of like reading one thing through, he was wanting to kind of like pause and read like everything that came out or several things that came out that month and kind of recreate the experience we had back then. And I'm like, I hadn't thought about it, because what I tend to do is I get on my iPad and go, oh, I've got the entire 20-volume Shogun Warriors, and I just go Shogun Warriors, and then I go, oh, I got Godzilla. I go Godzilla, But it would be a neat idea to kind of go, I'll read this month's Iron Man, and then this month's Avengers, and this month's Captain America, and this, and I might very well do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought. They had a big sale at Second and Charles. I don't know how far nationwide that reaches, but every now and then they do a buy 5 get 5. And I just like fleece the $1.50 bins for all this stuff from the past that I never read. And that's exactly what I do, Van. When I get them home, I put them in order by release date.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm reading the thing. So now I have this contextual idea of what's out around it. And then every once in a while, by doing that, I will get, let's say, the entire run of Atari Force, which I did at the Second and Charles. And then I send them off to Omaha Bound. OmahaBound.com.
Plug.
And they bind them. And so,
Yes.
yeah. I know you love my hardbound.
What was the there was one comic company, I guess it was CrossGen, that actually did their collections that way, which struck me as weird at the time, but I look back and I go, man, that was actually kind of an interesting way to do it, because like instead of getting a whole book of sigil or negation or whatever, they would do a big thick volume that had like 3 months of everything in that order. And and if you didn't like a particular comic, just skip a few pages and keep going. Yeah.
Of course, that was Sigil's whole thing, though, that they had some sort of a connected.
Yeah.
Like CrossGen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so that's also how they got rid of unsold back issues.
But
they
no,
stuck them all together.
About 20 years ago, I did that with a bunch of DC books. I just started reading them chronologically. And so I was throwing in like All-Star Squadron and like the Golden Age stuff. But then when I got past the Crisis, I was reading like Firestorm and Suicide Squad and Manhunter. And I realized that I had inadvertently gotten like every book John Ostrander wrote at that time. And when you read them all chronologically, you see where he's connecting them, but only if you're reading them like that. So it does. Like sometimes with Marvel, I've had trouble with that because there are times when no one's talking to each other, and it's really obvious that no one's talking to each other. But at the same time, there is something kind of cool about seeing like how the universe was existing at that point, with all the different books, and seeing how they did tie together.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like I've missed something by not doing it that way, and I kind of want to go back now, because I've been on and off reading Iron Man from the Mantlo era. I've been reading Captain America from like 75, 70, right around Kirby, on either side of Kirby, and set in the mid 70s, and a little bit of the Avengers from back before where I actually started. And I still have this thing though, where I don't seem to enjoy comics as much from before I originally started reading. It's like something in my brain is like, this is from before you started. And so, you throw me up an Avengers 167 or something. I'm like, you put up an Avengers 155 or something. I'm like, I don't know if I want to read this. It's just, is it my brain? Or I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just psychological, I guess.
No, I honestly think that what most longtime fans, and this isn't, of course, a 100% across the board thing, because there's always exception. I think what longtime fans really have to, and readers have to accept, is that you had a window, and that is your lane. And I'm not saying get out of your lane, but just realize that when you get out of your lane, you're not going to enjoy it as much. I spent the last couple of years trying to convince myself to like what DC had done, like after 2010. And I've just decided it's a fool's errand, because it's not what I want out of those stories. It's not what I want out of those characters. So yeah, I totally see that. And going back before, it's an exception, not the rule, because I'm a DC guy. So the pre-crisis DC universe is fine, but it feels really weird. Like I love the multiverse and I'll read those stories, but like reading Green Lantern before the Crisis, there's some really boring books in there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love Green Lantern in the 70s as a kid, and there was a stretch. Gosh, when Gibbons, I guess it was Wolfman and Gibbons that were doing the book.
Len Wein came on with Gibbons.
Yeah, that stretch was just miserable to me, and I know a lot of folks love it, but man, it was not my thing. I was a big. God, who was the writer with? It was with Englehart with Staten on the artwork. I think that's
right. He came after
Englehart and Staten, and oh my God, it was so good, and I loved it so much, and then it just went away. I don't know.
Michael, you were the one that I think that helped me get the actions with the Supermobile and everything, because I loved those when I was a kid, and I just went back and reread that story again a couple of weeks ago, and it always strikes me how. I kind of knew it at the time when I was 10, 11, 12, whatever, reading them originally in like 78, 79. But there really is kind of a YA aspect to a lot of what they were doing back pre-crisis. Would you agree with that, being kind of the...
And Superman was always kind of the outlier because Schwartz edited the book up until 86, and it seemed like every time they brought on like a fresh writer, like Wolfman's run on Action Comics is amazing. He's doing a lot of really interesting things with the character. He breaks Superman and Lois up, and then has Clark starting to date Lana. So, and then they brought Gil Kane in on the art. Now, Gil Kane was a veteran by that point, but he had never drawn Superman. And so going from Swan to Kane, it's just like this burst of creativity. But it seemed like every time...
Imagine that transition. I can't even visualize it.
But I
don't know if I've ever seen it.
But every time they would get on a stretch where they were evolving the character, like once that writer left, it went right back to the more formulaic stories. And it's why, I don't know if you guys noticed, I kind of like Superman. I try to keep it really low key. But I have found that I can read Bronze Age in short snippets. I can't read Silver Age in bulk. I have to read. It's like romance stories. I have to read 3 and then walk away because my brain starts to shut down. But rereading my stuff from, the Flashes though are eminently readable for whatever reason. I don't know why. There was something about that book that just made it fun.
Wasn't it Gardner Fox? Was he doing that?
John Broome. Was
John Broome? That's right.
John Broome was right in it with the Infantino art, but I can read Golden Age Superman in huge stretches. But as much as I love that character, I just had to come to the conclusion that I guess I'll have to be less of a fan. That I'm like, no, I'm tapping out. I'm not reading all the Silver Age stuff. I just can't. For every death of Superman and Superman Returns to Krypton, there's 3 stories where Perry White gets amnesia, learns Clark Kent's identity, gets his memory back at the end, but then forgets that Clark Kent's Superman.
When you read Untold Tales, the Marvel Untold, well, not Marvel, but there's a couple of books, Slugfest, I've read a lot of those this year. Mm-hmm. And there were several stories in one of them about how some of the writers were kind of wanting to push Superman and other DC properties, push them ahead a little bit. And the editors were like, no, we have our audience. We're going to keep doing the exact same way. And it just kind of got stagnant for a while there where, you had the nice user-friendly Kurt Swan art. And Kurt Swan art is gorgeous. Nothing against it. But it's of its time and place. And it's like you say, going from that to Gil Kane makes my brain kind of explode a little bit. I think of Gil Kane, I think of John Carter of Mars or something. I don't think of Superman,
And the other thing there is that the books that did well in the 80s for DC were the ones that were most like a Marvel book of the time. New Teen Titans and Legion were written, I won't say they were written Marvel style, but they had a cast of characters. They were written with a fresh voice. You had really good art on both. And then, but then in Superman or some of the other books, it was like business as usual. Now, I'm not saying that everything that happened after the crisis was a good idea. I think they made some pretty boneheaded decisions, but at least there was.
The crisis was a good idea.
I go back and forth on that, actually. In all honesty, I really go back and forth on whether getting rid of the multiverse was a good idea or not, because I love that concept. But then I wouldn't have I started reading in 1987 because I was a late bloomer in coming to getting into comics. So, but I wouldn't have had everything that I liked. So it's like one of those things where everyone goes, well, what if this would have happened? And I go, then nothing else that you liked in comics would have happened. It's the butterfly effect of comic book history, basically.
It is. That's true. Hey guys, I'm going to wrap it up here in just a second. So if you have any final thoughts, let's go around the room, and then I think we need to. They're wanting our table. There's other people that need to eat, and we're done. So, Jared, any last thoughts for today? Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. A wise man can look at the grain of sand and see the universe, but the foolish man rolls in seaweed and says, "Hey, look, everyone, I'm a seaweed monster." I guess that's it. I appreciate you being here. It's always more fun when we are live at a table in a food court. Van, I missed that this year.
Oh, I know it, man.
Hopefully, we'll be back at it next year. And I just look forward to hopefully seeing some of you folks out there at the conventions. Hopefully, they'll start kicking off in 21, and we'll be back at it.
And Jared, let's just hope that when we get to come back a year from now, we'll have all 3 issues of Cold Lightning and Pulsar ready to
exactly. Right now, it's Cold Lightning and Hamilton versus Burrow Werewolf.
That's right.
Available at theyardsaleartist.com.
Michael, any last parting words? Appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys inviting me. I was just I'm between panels today. This is my busy day. That's the point. Yeah. No, I really want to get back next year. I didn't realize how much I would miss seeing everybody. I think this is the first year since 2000. From 2004 to last year, this will be the first year I won't see you at con, man. Yeah. Wow, it's crazy. This is like only the second year since 1997 that I haven't been in Atlanta on Labor Day weekend or whatever. So it's
wow. In the plus column, though, I didn't have to set up your table for you this year. So
you got off easy on that. So.
Shag was going to be coming back this year, right?
Oh, no, man. Come on, man. All right. Any last words of wisdom before we wrap up?
This is the first live Dragoncon I've done since 2000. So,
you and David both.
Hiatus. Yeah. So, no, I hope that there's a chance to do live con next year because, this is going to suck if it lasts another year.
I know. Well, come by. Jared and I have our table in Artist Alley, and we're always welcoming, and so that would be awesome. So, definitely. All right, guys. Well, let's hope everything is better. I guess going forward, tune in this evening at 6:00 Central, 7:00 Eastern for Marvel DC Trivia 2020, the virtual edition. And we'll do a food court tomorrow sometime. I'll figure out when it fits into the schedule. So goodbye, everybody.